and welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So in this episode, I'll be discussing the original 1982 supernatural horror movie, Poltergeist, as directed by Tobe Hooper. Of all the horror movies I have ever watched, this is perhaps, for me, the one which has basically both influenced and ever scared me the most. It's probably one of my earliest recollections of ever watching a horror, and is one of the very few that even my dad enjoys, not quite being a horror enthusiast like myself. And indeed, one we have been able to enjoy together through the years, kind of bringing back warm, if but terrifying memories on each viewing. For years, when I was younger, I was so scared of the American national anthem, which actually starts this movie off. I thought it was the Poltergeist theme. It still sends shivers down my spine even to this day, even though I of course know better, you know? The film sees us introduced to the Freeling family, who, after being awakened one night by their daughter profoundly staring at the TV display, basically displaying static, they start to become aware of disturbances around the house, and have that kind of feeling that a spiritual presence may be to blame. What starts out as a fun and enlightening experience for the family soon turns sinister when the spirits snatch the family's youngest daughter, Ann, as played by Heather O'Rourke, from our realm into theirs with seemingly malevolent intent. The family, at their wits' end, calling paranormal investigators, who themselves get more than they bargained for as the supernatural entities take hold and become ever more powerful. With seemingly unstoppable force trying to coax their daughter into to their own end, the Freeling family must unite and show strength as they journey into the world beyond in order to bring back their Ann from the clutches of a beast unknown. So, although this film is now somewhat nearly 40 years old, you know, the man boggles, and even given the hundreds of times I have watched it now, it still packs more than a punch, you know, for me. Sure, when I was younger, it was probably one of the scariest things I had ever seen. Some of the scenes in this movie are simply terrifying. Now I'm older, it still has the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. It still creeps me out. But of course, I can have a lot more fun with it, you know, rather than hiding behind the sofa for the most part, looking at it tentatively, you know, through half-opened eyes. The movie has stood the test of time for me, with some resounding special effects and some awesomely iconic horror moments. Especially some of the haunting moments with Ann as we hear her voice through the TV, coming through from the other realm, using the empty static as a way into our world. And indeed, dare I mention the moment with the clown and Ann's brother, Robbie, as played by Oliver Robbins. Simply inspired, but equally petrifying for me. The single one reason why I ordered all the clowns out of my bedroom as a child, and even why, to this day, it has become somewhat of an irrational fear. The movie starts with a crescendo, filling you with fear, but at the same time, intrigue. At first, we don't know anything of the entity's sinister intentions. It then kind of relaxes, becomes more playful, lulling you right into that false sense of security. As then, wham, basically, almost out of nowhere, it ramps up the suspense and the terror tenfold. And then, just when you thought it was safe to come out from under the bed, bang! The way that it plays on your senses is simply amazing throughout, giving you just enough to kind of contemplate events before terrorising your mind once again. Playing on the creepiness of the events that transpire. You know, kids talking to thin air. Animals behaving strangely, objects moving on their own, building you up and playing on your own fears and perhaps creating a few new ones in the process. It's certainly an entertaining horror, never really letting up from the get-go, and kind of featuring an absolutely outstanding cast that really sell the horror which unfolds. Not least the late Heather O'Rourke, who completely steals the show with a portrayal of Ann, you know? Which is already such an iconic presence, chilling in itself. I mean, just those few words, and I can't do them justice, you know, there, here, says it all. You know, I can think of nobody else who would have been better, or who would have brought more to the, you know, to the role, to bring it to life in quite the same way. The soundtrack too is absolutely outstanding, and now I can easily stomach it. It has more than grown on me, you know. I actually do have the album. What Jerry Goldsmith has brought to the table here is nothing short of amazing in its own right. Easily telling the movie's story in sound, you know, capturing its very essence, combining the soft, playful notes with childlike wonder, with the harsher, kind of sharp tones and otherworldly notes that he throws in, which again, they captivate and they cultivate the on-screen presence. You know, the music propagates this tension that's forming. Between Tobe Hooper and Steven Spielberg, who produced the movie, and it's not all that clear who steered it the most. My money's on Spielberg, at least to the point of micromanaging Hooper, perhaps. The actual influence in the movie has been contested for some time. I'm not going to get into that too much, but Spielberg was committed to directing E.T. at the time, and so enlisted Hooper to be onto the project, who in turn turned what was going to be a horror spin-off sequel to Spielberg's own Close Encounters of a Third Kind into kind of a grounded and succinct standalone supernatural horror. Anywho, you know, between the two, whoever, and indeed Jerry Goldsmith, what they have produced here is one spectacular journey into the beyond, with totally scintillating special effects and with a premise ever more edging towards this more sinister backbone. The music, the sounds, the visuals are all expertly blended to simply enthrall and terrify, with a real beauty to its execution that has a dark duality about it. It's what I would call an accessible horror, and in that I mean, certainly for its time, this was aimed squarely at bringing horror to a mainstream audience, in a time when perhaps a lot of what was kind of available was for the connoisseur, shall we say. Everything is neatly contained within the boundaries set up within the movie and told through a bold yet easygoing story. And although suspensefully eerie and totally spine-tingling, there is no gore. There's some gut-wrenching moments, don't get me wrong, but not out-and-out kind of stabbing and, you know, it's not a slasher film. Only kind of sheer haunted house terror, you know? So overall, this, if you haven't been able to tell, is one of my favourite ever horror movies. Certainly with respect to the ghost kind of entity area of the genre, you know. It quickly sets up and establishes the family dynamic essential for the film's premise in order to really pull us in as the viewer. We are part of this experience, and the way the film kind of plays with our heads, lulling us into that false sense of security on a number of occasions, really plays to its strengths. I've had my personal ups and downs with this movie, starting off as something that used to scare the living daylights out of me, to something I have learned, you know, to have fun with and enjoy for the spectacle that it is as I have grown older. Doesn't mean to say that it terrifies me any less. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please hit that subscribe button. Please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and other movie-related content. I absolutely loved having you here at SciFirst Movie Talk. Definitely love to have you back. Most of all, just thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.